Once they had ratified it, the UAW sued General Motors. But I'm saying it was a phony lawsuit because there was no conflict. The two parties in dispute had already come to an agreement. The UAW sued General Motors saying, you don't have the legal right to take accrued vested benefits from retirees. The UAW had already negotiated to do this. The reason the UAW went to court to sue was so that they could become the legal representative of the retirees, because they did not have that legal status at that time. So they got, what do they call it, a stalking horse, a couple of UAW retirees to sign this lawsuit and ask the UAW to represent them. And thereby they gained the legal recognition from the court as the legitimate representative. This was 2005. Now at the time, this was only a partial VIBA, and it was only good until 2011. But it set the stage for future negotiations. We did expect this. And, we became, in Soldiers of Solidarity, we started, and with the Center for Labor Renewal, campaigning against the VIBA prior to 2007 negotiations. We were warning people that they would expand the VIBA, that they would shift more costs for retirement health care onto retirees and to active workers. We were right. In 2007, they expanded the VIBA. They wanted to take full control of, UAW would control this VIBA for all of healthcare retirees. And initially, the three corporations were supposed to pay enough into the VIBA to cover really maybe 50 to 60% of projected liability. So even at that, we were going to be underfunded. We estimated about 50%. And I'm looking at their numbers. This is what General Motors had complained that their liability was, and Ford and Chrysler, and then what they were willing to put up. The problem was they again had to go back to court to get the approval of the court, but no money actually changed hands and wasn't scheduled to change hands until 2010. So along comes 2009 and the company's go into bankruptcy. They say, now we don't have any of that money. The $20 billion that General Motors had claimed that it had set aside in this original VIBA was gone. So here we are today. Now some people would say, well, the UAW got a sweet deal. They got this stock, set aside for the healthcare's retiree for the VIBA. But in fact, the stock isn't worth anything right now. It may be a long time, if ever, that stock does have any value. And in the meantime, UAW VIBA is responsible to pay for the retirees' health care beginning next year in 2010. So in 2010, we do expect premiums, co-pays to go up, and for more things not to be covered. Now currently, right now, as a GM retiree, none of my doctor visits are covered. My dental isn't covered, and vision isn't covered. For example, recently I needed to go to a podiatrist. My visit to the podiatrist wasn't covered. The insert that I needed for my shoe to correct my foot is not covered. So I will be paying hundreds of dollars out of pocket. This doesn't even go towards my deductible, which has been raised. As I said earlier, these are accrued vested benefits that were guaranteed at the time of retirement, which we have already seen eroded, and which I expect we're going to lose, significantly much more. Um, this is something that we warned about, and I wrote about it in Live Bait and Ammo, which is a newsletter that I write. But New Directions in the UAW had warned about. Other dissident soldiers, the UAW Solidarity Coalition was another group, Soldiers of Solidarity, had been sounding the alarms and letting rank and file members know that there's a trend here, that the companies are taking profits generated from North America, investing this overseas, protecting themselves from a bankruptcy in the United States. Years ago I said, this is planned, this is coming. And I look back at things that I and others had written, and I'm going back to 95 and 96, where we predicted the spin-off of Delphi, and that the reason General Motors wanted to spin off Delphi was that they could dump the pension and the health care liabilities for retirees. It wasn't, we didn't just pull this out of our hats. This was something you could read that analysts were talking about, that industry experts were talking about. Where was the UAW at this time? The UAW was still engaged in its cooperative model of helping the company to be competitive. Well, what does that mean? That means helping the company fulfill its agenda. Part of that agenda is to outsource work. Part of that agenda is to move production overseas. The UAW knew this. The UAW saw this. They certainly have better access than I or any other rank and file member had. This was not news to them. But they were seeking to protect, I believe, eventually they were seeking to protect the bureaucracy of the UAW more than the rank and file member. As they adopted more and more the cooperative model of negotiation with the companies, what they call jointness, they further distanced themselves from the rank and file members and got closer to management, more embraced it. At the same time, management was supporting this. Walter Reuther had a saying that, I'm paraphrasing here, but if you find a corrupt union official, you'll find a company manager putting money in his pocket. That those two things go hand in hand. What happened with the UAW and the companies was that they found a legal way to fund the UAW, which gave them a lot more influence and made UAW officials less willing to be adversarial and confrontational with the company.